and done damn things. Yep. This is your show. Wow.
Good evening, everyone. This is the September 18th council meeting. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
Did you hear there was an update? So open the packet fresh out of Dropbox.
Okay, well, I'd like to welcome everyone this evening to council chambers for our September 18th, 2023 council meeting. Our first order of business is a proclamation recognizing Constitution Day and the Constitution Week. So if I could have one. All right.
Caitlin?
Whereas the United States Constitution maintains Americans' liberties, freedoms, and inalienable rights, whereas the daughters of the American Revolution and Americans alike have celebrated the Constitution through the observance of Constitution Week since 1956 when signed into law. And whereas September 17, 2023 marks the 236th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. Now therefore be it proclaimed, we, the city of TEK, do hereby recognize September 17, 2023 as the Constitution Day and September 17th to September 23rd as Constitution Week. We'd like to present this to you. Did you get it all?
Who is that? She is? Okay. How many public comments we got? Looks like a lot. Okey-dokey.
And that will bring us to public comments. As always, if you would, please state your name and address. Our first person is Liz Duda.
Hi, thank you. Elizabeth Duda, 1081 Palmyra Drive. I have two legal-related questions, and if there's time, then a few RFATS-related questions. So at the last city council meeting, each council member shared his views of Councilmember Scott Shirley's public comments at the York County Council June 20th, 2023 meeting. You recall Councilmember Shirley publicly told County Council that he was representing you and that you were investigating schools in TKK for improprieties and that you would take legal action if you discovered any. But I did not hear you discuss Councilmember Shirley's violation of the City of TKK communication policy that you adopted in July 2021. So I ask, would you please discuss that communication policy? So what action did you take against Councilmember Shirley, if any, for violating that policy? If none, can you take action for violating that policy? If not, why do you have that policy? What if city staff, instead of a council member, had violated that policy? Would you hold that person accountable? And I'd find this odd since that communication policy was enacted in large part due to Councilmember Shirley's past transgressions, as Councilmember Maciunas noted in his council comments last month. That's my first question. Second question, in the July 10th, 2023 City Council meeting, you renegotiated the city manager's contract over a year early. A council member subsequently shared with me the legal document that invalidated the existing contract. I've reviewed it. The new 5-year contract has the same legal problem that it was created to address. So is that the court case? Is that reason that you renegotiated the contract over a year early, as the council member told me? And if it is, can you explain why you are willing to create a new contract with the same legal problem? If it's not the reason that you renegotiated the contract over a year early, then why did you? Okay, so then, related to the RFATS Policy Committee meetings, I reviewed the agenda for this Friday, September 22nd. Mayor Gray, I appreciate you representing the city of TKK on that. You may recall in February 2023, I spoke at that meeting and I asked the RFATS Policy Committee to consider live streaming those meetings. The region's most important transportation decisions are made at those meetings, and I believe that they are of public interest, not just to me. I can't always attend in person, but I believe that other city council members, I believe other elected representatives throughout the region, citizens would all be interested in what's happening there, given that such important decisions are made there. SCDOT also televises its meetings, so I believe it would be very important to televise those meetings. I attended the Fort Mill council meeting last month. The Mayor Savage directed citizens attend the policy committee meetings, go speak there. So I think it is of interest to many people. So I would request that you please champion getting those meetings live streamed. I would also be grateful if you would report back in these meetings on what you learn at the RFATS Policy Committee meetings. It's important to TKK. I saw on this Friday's agenda, they will be presenting the overview of a TKK pedestrian safety study. I'd love to know what that is if you have time to address that today. I'm not aware of that. So there's a TKK pedestrian safety study where they'll provide overview and recommendations this coming Friday at your meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Duda. Next, Laura Nichols.
Hi, my name is Laura Nichols. I'm a resident of TKK. I first want to say, please don't be fooled by this very thick New York accent. I have lived in the great state of South Carolina for almost 20 years. Like many residents of TKK, I am very concerned about our deer, and I'm very concerned about the deer population. I do not believe in culling, but I do believe in facts. I am dealing with Lyme's disease as well as Rocky Mountain spotted fever, which I did not acquire from deer. I acquired them from a dog. And I did not acquire the diseases living in TKK. It was just a couple miles down the road in Fort Mill where there are no deer. Lyme's disease every year affects 300,000 people in the United States. The culprit in the spread of Lyme's disease is the black-legged tick. Originally, the tick was called the deer tick. That is false. That has perpetuated the false belief that deer alone are responsible for Lyme disease. In fact, the black-legged tick has well over 100 hosts, including mammals, lizards, and many popular songbirds. Studies have shown that the removal of one host isn't enough to suppress the Lyme disease-causing tick. Even when a high proportion of deer are removed from a location, the deer switch to other hosts or congregate in higher densities on the remaining deer. Deer removal programs may also put the public more at risk, creating hotspots. Mature ticks that normally latch onto large hosts, deer, are more likely to end up on people and dogs and other deer after other deer populations have been reduced. There's good reason why the Centers of Disease Control, the CDC, and health authorities do not recommend hunting to control Lyme's disease because it does not work. Thank you.
Thank you. Steph Kersey? Did I say that right? Well, it looks like an R.
It's not phonetic. My grandfather came from Germany, and there was extra letters that we lost along the way.
So
So it's actually an L, Kessl. It's not phonetic.
Kessel.
That's right.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Well, see, it looks like Kersey.
Yeah, that's the thing about
You're going to have to
handwriting.
talk about your penmanship.
Looks like we may have written with our left hand, keeping you
Well,
on your
at least,
toes.
at least you could read it. If I'd have written it, you couldn't have read it.
There you are.
You didn't start the
Okay.
timer yet, did you?
All right. My name is Stephanie Kessel. I live here in TKK, and I'm here to ask council as well as our city to consider alternative options to find the most cost-effective and long-term solution to the deer conflicts I know we're all feeling. And the reason why I say specifically cost-effective is because culling is a waste of tax dollars. I say this because culling actually has a tendency of increasing the amount of money we spend on trying to manage them, because when we cull, there's a void, and what happens, as we know, is that deer are very adaptable, and their productivity is tied to their food resources. So when there's fewer deer in an area with abundant food, they will maximize their reproduction, and then we'll start seeing twins and triplets in the spring instead of just a single fawn. This causes their numbers to rebound even after we've tried to remove through a cull. Therefore, if deer numbers can be lowered, they just don't stay that long. They don't stay that way for very long. Additionally, when there's a sudden vacuum after something like a kill program or hunters come into an area, paired with this high reproductive rate like I just shared, other deers start to encroach on that area, and so we just start to see and feel that pressure all over again. And finally, when deer killing programs or hunting is instituted, the deer will actually start to get wise and sort of leave the unhunted areas, leave for unhunted areas in response to the hunting or the culling activities. And then once the lethal control has ceased, they simply move right back in. And I don't blame them either. I think we sometimes don't give them as much credit as they're pretty wily. Additionally, specific to culling, it's a waste of tax dollars because it's not effective. Even if deer numbers are lowered after a cull, it then requires more effort by the taxpayers, by the shooters, by the personnel to take the same number of deer out each year, and this obviously drives up the cost. Additionally, a culling management program will require annual shooting every year. This is not a one or done. This is not a silver bullet. And we know here in TKK, this will not be a one-time event. This will be an annual event. And as Dr. Ruth explained, the first 2 years, if a culling approach were to be done, you'd have to be incredibly aggressive to just get that number down in those first 2 years, and then it would be yearly maintenance after that. Furthermore, it would technically be very difficult, if not impossible, and extremely costly to try and then dart deer with something like contraception in the future, because they will be scared away from those bullets. Okay, thank you. Blah, 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 blah. All right.
Mary Eichert?
Hi, guys. Good evening. I'm here to talk about the squirrels in TKK. First of all, Mary Eichert, I live in Molokai. And I just want to start off and give you all a shout out. I have been up here many times, and I'm usually staring at y'all, pointing fingers, frustration and anger. Tonight, I just want to say thank you, because I do feel a shift in your willingness to listen to some of us, to work alongside people, to be open to different ideas and unique approaches to very complex topics. Obviously, there are things we still don't see eye to eye on, but I always try to remind myself that I'm not in your shoes. I'm not the one making these hard decisions that you all have to make. All I can really do is stand next to you, maybe in nicer shoes. But I just wanted to start that off by saying I appreciate y'all. It's been a positive experience talking with some of you the last couple weeks. So now for my TED Talk. My family and I have been living here for going on 7 years. And I've said it before and I will say it again. We love the deer in TKK. And like many residents, I'm concerned about them. I do not believe in culling, and I've got to put my glasses on, y'all, I'm so sorry. I do not believe in culling, and I'm concerned about the use of guns in our community. I'm a parent with children and with dogs in my home and yard. I'm concerned about the safety of using sharpshooters to kill the deer. Even if you take great measures to make this as safe as possible, there are no guarantees. There's also the issue of psychological safety. We already have to worry about guns at school, at concerts, and public events. Please do not make us worry about them in our backyards as well. And on a personal note, I have a senior in high school this year, and basketball practice starts up in the next couple months. He leaves our house at 5:30 in the morning. He walks up our driveway in a dark cul-de-sac. It just really, as a parent, I just have a lot of concerns and a lot of worries, knowing that there might be people out there using guns. So, thank you again very much.
Thank you. Janine Moosey?
Good evening. I'm Janine Mucci, and I live on Finsbury Lane in TKK. I've been part of the TKK community for nearly 17 years, and so today I'm here to talk to you about our beautiful deer. So, to our fellow TKK residents, there's been an ongoing conversation around deer in TKK for many years. As more humans have moved in, and as our deer population has steadily increased, we are now at a breaking point with our cultural carrying capacity. There are enough human-deer conflicts to be upsetting, even though we are assured by the DNR that our deer are healthy from a biological perspective. Residents should realize that this is a social-centered issue, not biological. The deer are healthy, but they're reproducing at a rate of 2.5 per doe. Culling will not make an impact on these multiplying numbers without other sustainable methods. This is why research says that breaking the cycle of reproduction is the answer. If we're looking for a long-term, effective solution, we need to be thoughtful. We need to be strategic. We need to be intentional about how we are using our resources. Our resources are time, money, and effort. We cannot reasonably expect a dramatic reduction overnight, but instead should expect a steady decrease for many years by employing a solution like PZP. Thank you.
Thank you. Alicia Famato?
Good evening. I'm Alicia Fermato. I'm a resident here on Riley down the street. And I'm here to share with the city and with TKK City Council alternatives to the deer problems because culling is a waste of tax dollars. PZP is an immunocontraceptive given only to does. Immunocontraceptive vaccines activate the immune system to block a crucial aspect of reproduction. The Porcine zona pellucida, or PZP vaccine, causes female deer to produce antibodies that bind to the protein envelope surrounding the egg, blocking fertilization from the sperm. It is administered with a dart gun, no need for capture, and annual booster shots are given to maintain effectiveness. Treatment of white-tailed deer with PZP typically reduces pregnancies by 80 to 90% immediately, drastically reducing herd numbers. Over 50% in 5 years at Fripp Island, South Carolina. This method was developed 3 decades ago, and its effects are well known throughout the world. It's used globally in zoos. For captured animals, it was invented for the wild mares out west. It's used on African elephants, and it's actually effective on any mammal who is hooved, and bears, interestingly. PZP is also very cost-effective at $100 a deer, which is much more affordable than other contraception vaccines such as the Gonacon or surgical sterilization or even culling, which all have a price point of approximately $1,000 a deer. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Pete Wilkinson. Pete Wilkinson going once. Pete Wilkinson going twice. No Pete Wilkinson. Okay. Ruthie Smith. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Okay, I can't see either. Hi, guys. Ruthie Smith, 8039 Windjammer Drive. I'm going to test y'all on that next time. So thank you. Thank you for my 3 minutes up here to talk about a couple of things. Many of my neighbors are, I wish I could say I was, are avid gardeners. So I really want to propose a community action effort to combine resources for deer-resistant plants and tips. Already have a bunch of these resources listed that I would like to make available to the community. And I want to come up with, maybe have guest speakers, resident experts, gardeners that are already part of our community, come in and speak with residents on how to protect their flowers, how to plant native flowers that are deer resistant. Maybe some that I have were deer resistant and aren't so much anymore, but that's my fault for not spraying them all the time. I've actually lost more plants to bugs and lack of rain than I have deer. So anyway, I would like to propose that and share the list of deer plant resources that we have. Secondly, I want to invite all of the fellow residents in TGK to be patient and please be more involved in our efforts to find a sustainable, effective deer management program for TGK. We're not the first community to go through this. We've done a lot of studies with published articles in science over the last 30 years that we've shared with council. And whether you're an avid gardener, animal lover, outdoor enthusiast, or a taxpayer who wants fiscally responsible decisions made, we all need to come together and discuss this. So please, everyone get involved. Rather than accusing, demanding, and complaining to council about when you're really not a part of the solution. The deer has been an issue. It's nothing new, and it's very complicated. This is not something that's happened overnight. If you were here years and years ago and did an aerial view, it's all forests. And if you do an aerial view now, TGK is still forests, and that's where our deer are. So we need to come together and protect our wildlife and make sure that we, preserve TGK. Okay, back on track. We cannot expect this to be a quick result. Even if you go culling with the reproduction rate that the does are giving, producing 2.5 fawns a year, you can't just cull. You've got to look at other manageable solutions. We need to have patience with council in these moments as they consider what option is truly the most effective, sustainable, and financially responsible use of our taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Cassandra McNamee.
Cassandra McNamee, 4106 Marquesas Avenue. I just want my dad to be able to have his car in his driveway. He's been in the hospital for the past 4 months. He got a very bad staph infection, has not been able to walk. The city has been on our butt nonstop. I've talked to about 6, 7 different people, called all kinds of people, explained to him he's in the hospital. So he is not able to fix his car. I went and got everything registered, and I'm still having a hard time. He obviously can't do anything being in the hospital. So I would just like him to be able to have enough time to be able to heal and get his car fixed without being harassed about it. Because I'm honestly not, we live on a side driveway, private driveway, down the driveway. So I'm really not too sure why people are even coming down that side driveway. You cannot see the car from the road. It is not a disturbance at all to anybody. Nobody on our driveway minds. So I'm not really sure what the problem is or what else more I can do, but it's supposed to get towed tomorrow, and I need it not to be towed because he can't do anything. And it's kind of annoying how hard of a time I've had and how rude some of the people from the city have been to me the past few weeks about it, knowing the situation. And it really let me down on my community, the way that this situation has been handled. And the people I have talked to have been nothing but nasty and rude to me about it. And I did all the work, and I explained to them that we are trying. So I just don't want my father's car to get towed tomorrow. And I'm honestly not too sure why people are coming down that driveway in my yard anyway, honestly. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And that would conclude our public comments. So our next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Gentlemen, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Do we have any discussion, additions, deletions, subtractions, or otherwise?
Nope.
I got none.
With that being said, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Entertain a
Third.
vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. All right. And with that, that will bring up our cover for committee reports. And as always, I'd like to start with Councilman Machunas, sir.
So the EDC met on the 28th, had a quorum, good turnout. Big topic of discussion was the first Business Connect meeting that's ever been done, which was going to be on the 13th and which was on the 13th. Discussed what the format would be, who would speak, what they would speak about. And also discussion of a 10 to 12 question SurveyMonkey survey to be sent out to the business owners in TKK with brick and mortar business, and also if they had a home business, that would be okay as well. Discussion of the collaboration committee, and the chamber was interested in helping them. Ashley had met with Caroline Hasty and Dustin Overton, discussing monetization of proposed events, and they came together and put together a list of events that could possibly be monetized. I will say that I think I've been doing the EDC, being the liaison for the EDC for a couple years now, and the current group of members and the chair have done more in the last 4 months than happened in at least a year before that. There was a Business Connect meeting, and Mark Persley with the chamber came and spoke about some things he could do and offered resources to the local businesses in terms of, actually offered to have people from Google come in and discuss using digital media and social media to grow their business. Sergeant Bowers came in and spoke about the police department and what they could do for the safe businesses and tips that the businesses could use to remain safe. It was a good turnout. Figure it'll be twice as many next time. There will be another one. But I just want to praise the current members of the EDC, and especially the chair, Ashley Rabin, for all the hard work that they put into making things happen, and some more things to come.
Thank you, Councilman Machunas. Next, we'll have the Planning Commission, Councilman Shirley.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, there was a Planning Commission meeting on September 11th, believe it or not, and there were no public comments. There were 2 residents that were in attendance. Item 2 on the agenda was approving the minutes. They chose not to approve the minutes and defer them because there were some comments from their previous meeting that didn't make it into the minutes. So they were having that amended, and then they'd approve the minutes theoretically next month. Old business, there was a gentleman that's here, an applicant that had a proposal on a development off of Dam Road. Chairman Ross on the commission recused himself from the discussion and the vote. There was a vote to approve an application for annexation and change to the zoning, the current zoning. And what was requested was R8. What was approved was R13 by the Planning Commission. There was a lot of discussion around that, a lot of angst among the Planning Commission members, but they were able to reach a consensus on that with a 5-to-1 vote. There was commissioner comments and other comments, had some commendations for Susan Britt for all her years serving as the planner and working with the Planning Commission. Nick did a great job facilitating the meeting, and that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Shirley. On to TK Forever Foundation, Mayor Pro Tem Highslip.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. TK Forever had a meeting on Monday, August 28th. There was a quorum. 2 items, we appointed new officers. Chair is Heather Jones, Vice Chair is Laura Saunders, Secretary Amanda Weber, and Treasurer Mo Thompson. Also set the dates for the remainder of the year for the upcoming meetings, so they'll meet on Monday, September 25th, Monday, October 23rd, and Monday, December 4th will be a joint November-December meeting because of the holiday season. And that is it, sir.
Thank you, sir. And I will interject just for a moment. I covered the Park and Rec Ad Hoc Committee. I pinch hit anytime. You guys just got to call me and let me know I need to pinch hit. No problem. But the Park and Rec Ad Hoc Committee, they are getting the data together for the survey. They established who was going to do what and when, where, and how. And we are awaiting the numbers back from the questionnaire. So that was about it. All right. Okay. Which brings us to a little unfinished business. It's a second reading of our fiscal year 2023-24 budget ordinance. This is the second and final reading of an ordinance necessary to set the budgets for fiscal year 2023-2024 that were presented by the city manager during the August 21st council meeting. Gentlemen, do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor and members of council, I'd like to make a motion to approve the second reading of an ordinance for the fiscal year 2023-2024 budgets.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
We had some discussion last month about the budget and about a recommendation that a few of us made on a line item on the budget. Because of the decision to leave that in there, I chose to vote against the budget. I'm not against the budget or against funding what we're doing for the city, but I'll still stand on principle on my vote.
It's my understanding with that one particular piece that we're discussing is the waterfall.
Mm.
With that particular piece, that is not an earmarked project. There would be a money set aside for that if we were to move forward with it. So in that, if we elect not to move forward with it, that money would stay in general fund. And Mr. Funderburk, am I correct in saying so?
Based on last month's discussion, you're correct. Staff is not moving forward with the waterfall. Sometime in the near future, we will be bringing other projects that those funds could potentially be spent on as they would relate to Parks and Recreation, landscaping, that type thing. So right now, it is not, the waterfall project is not a earmark, if you will. But those funds, which I believe totaled out to about $47,000, are still in capital for Parks and Rec. So whether it's spent there or if council elects to move it to reserves or whatever, we'll bring that forth at a future council meeting with some ideas.
I'm satisfied with that. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
All right. With that, I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. We have some new business to take care of this evening. Old business still.
Second reading. Oh, he's got it marked as new. Never mind. This is the second reading of the marine ordinance. It's marked as new.
Oh, yeah, that is right. That's true. This would be a second read of that.
Yep.
So, we'll just read it as a old new slash,
We'll call it old business.
call it old business.
All right.
Let's just call it old
Are
business.
we allowed to do that, Bob? Item 5B? Are we
It's
allowed
under
to-
unfinished business. It's the next item on the agenda,
Yeah.
unfinished
It's
business.
listed as new business, but it's really old business. That doesn't matter, does it?
No, it's,
It's 5B, unfinished business.
On the agenda, it's listed as new. It's not a big deal. I
Okay.
don't think it matters. Does it?
okay. It's the next item.
Yeah, it's number, next
I
item.
don't know what they're looking
Moving on.
Next.
I have no idea.
It's consideration of exchanging a portion of Marina Drive for a new sidewalk along TEK Drive at the TEK Marina. The owner of the TEK Marina has approached the city requesting to take ownership of and subsequently close a portion of Marina Drive from the first intersection all the way to the first house past the boat launch at the marina. The owner has agreed to construct a sidewalk along TEK Drive from that intersection to the next Marina Drive intersection in exchange for this. Residents living along Marina Drive will not be impacted by this. Gentlemen, you have any questions? Okay, well, and with that, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to make a motion to approve the second reading of an ordinance to transfer ownership of a portion of Marina Drive to the TEK Marina in exchange for additional sidewalk along TEK Drive between the two Marina Drive intersections.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Our next item is ordinance 581 violations. Ordinance 581 was enacted on May 15, 2023, and established that any motor vehicle that is unregistered, inoperable, derelict, or abandoned on any highway or right-of-way or other public or private property shall not remain parked or stored upon such the property unless it is inside of a building. The city's code enforcement officers have tagged the vehicles in violation of this ordinance and notified owners through certified mail that the vehicles are subject for removal at their expense pending council's approval. A list of the vehicles in violation has been provided to council, and we are considering granting authority to the TEK Police Department to enter onto the property and tow the vehicles. Prior to granting this authority, we are providing the owners of the vehicles the opportunity to state any extenuating circumstances as to the nature of the vehicle/vehicles being abandoned or derelict.
Mr. Mayor, if I can jump in
Yes,
real
sir,
quick, if that's okay.
Mr. Funderburk, please.
The vehicles listed on Tulagi have been, are no longer in violation of this ordinance. I would like to investigate a little further if the lady that got up and spoke during public comments, was the address 4106? Is that correct? If it pleases council, I'd like to hold off on that one. Let me investigate a little bit further and see what's what on our end on that.
100%
And that would
agree.
just leave you with the one other vehicle at, let's see, 4099 Marquesas.
Could you tell us which vehicle is the one that's Mr. Robinson's, of the pictures that we have?
So 4099 Marquesas is the abandoned red Chevy S10 truck.
Okay.
Is that Mr. Robinson's, or is that a different
No,
one?
no, that's at 4099. The one that she was referencing is the blue Kia at 4106. So you're just addressing, if you look in your packet under the, y'all have a copy of the letter that was sent to the addresses. We're just looking at, I'm requesting that council only consider the first one, which is 4099 Marquesas, and it's the red Chevy S10 truck.
That one needs to be towed.
That's been there a long time.
Yeah, that one needs to be towed.
Okay,
But I support your suggestion on investigating that one, the young lady's father's vehicle as well.
okay. Well, in that, I'd like to entertain a motion, gentlemen.
How do we read the motion so only one vehicle gets towed?
Motion to authorize TCPD to have the red S10 located at 4099 Marquesas removed. Would cover it.
Thank you.
You got it?
I'd like to make a motion that the red S10 at 4099 Marquesas Drive be towed in accordance with ordinance 581.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
The heck?
Is that the only one? Good.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I had a little technical difficulty there.
I'm just glad mine has not blue screened as of yet.
Right.
Don't want to jinx it. Okay. Keeps jumping where I can't read.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Stand by, folks. Sorry, technical difficulties here. This thing's been on the fritz all week. No, negative, Ghost Rider. Okay. Next item is some new business to hear Planning Commission's recommendation as it relates to annexation of 1703 Dam Road / the Close Atkins property. Thank you, Nick.
Yes, sir. So the Planning Commission recommended approval of the rezoning request for 1703 Dam Road with the condition to zone the property PUD R13 instead of the requested PUD R8. And it was by a majority vote of 5-1. Commissioner Thompson opposed and Chairman Ross recused himself. And just to briefly add to that, the applicant requested PUD R8 on their application, and their proposed lots would exceed that 8,000 square foot area requirement. The PUD R13 would require a minimum 13,000 square foot lot, which the applicant has stated would significantly reduce their open space areas. So I just sort of wanted to draw that distinction.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to make a motion to approve the introduction and first reading of an ordinance to annex by 100% petition method and incorporate within the city limits of the city of TKK approximately 22.64 acres, tax map numbers 642-00-00-036 and 34, and 642-000027 and 642-000028 from RUD in the county to RU8 in the city. That's the motion.
It's a long motion.
It was a very long motion.
Hey, well said.
I'll second it, but I would like to discuss.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. I change oil for a living. So you got to explain something to me. It appears that based on the recommendation of the Planning Commission and the zoning code, that we have to make a choice as to whether to have the lots at the size that has been proposed with the amenity that was proposed, or zone it the way it was recommended, the lot sizes be made larger and the amenity and open space be smaller. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
That is a very good representation of what you're considering.
And just for clarification, the planning commission is just a recommending
Correct.
body. They can put any condition they want, but it doesn't bind you in any way.
We can do what we want.
Correct.
Do we have an idea what the difference would be in number of lots between R8, the current proposal, and then the R13 that you're recommending?
I know
We're
under
talking
your current,
10.
I don't know if that has been looked at as far as how much fewer lots. I'd have to defer to Paul with the developer, but I can tell you that right now, the plan as it exists and is up on the screen right now, you're looking at an average of 9,000 square foot lots. Your minimum lot size would be required to be no less than 8,000. The majority of what they've got in there is, or the average of what they've got in there is 9,000. Some are obviously larger, as you can tell from the depiction. And just to give you a frame of reference, that's the average size lot of the lots in the manors. All right, so they're,
9,000, is that like in the
that is
manors?
correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
You're looking at 90 to 95-foot wide lots, 100 feet deep.
And so here, it's 70 single-family detached, give or take.
I
in the
believe this plan, it's actually 66.
Okay, yeah, I'm just reading off the slide, but then,
Yes, sir.
I mean, if you changed it, you got in 50, 60?
Correct.
Yeah.
But as Nick stated, as you make those lots bigger, your common open spaces, your tree preserve areas get smaller, for sure.
Well, I mean, to me, I would rather, if those lots are the same size as the homes in the manors, I would suggest that we put the zoning code, what was initially proposed and not what the planning commission just proposed, to maintain the open space and the amenity, because those lots are as big as they are in the manor, so we've already kind of set a precedent, and I see nothing wrong with the lot sizes in the manors at TKK.
The ordinance that's before you tonight envisions it as PUD R8 as requested by the.
And
by
R8's
the
what they
petitioner.
requested.
That is correct.
And we've already done a motion and a second
That is correct.
at R8.
Yes, sir.
I'm ready to vote.
I'd like to have a little bit of discussion on this, if I may. As a councilman that was elected to represent folks that came and visited me during my election time, I heard a message loud and clear that people didn't want more residential development in TKK. And I still hear that from residents that I talk to. I have a sense that if something like this was put on a ballot in November, it would get shot down in a heartbeat. I love this developer. I love this group that we're working with, and I support them tremendously. But I really have a hard time supporting additional residential development when it doesn't bring any value to the residents of TKK. And I've had some significant arguments about this with my fellow council members. The tax revenue, the impact fees, man, it's great. And I'm glad that this would be provided to the budget for TKK. But there's not a resident in TKK that'll benefit from this, in my mind. And I'm not arguing this with my fellow council members. I'm asking for you guys to tell me where the value is. Help me understand this, because I want to vote with you. I don't want to vote against you. But at this point, I can't support this because it goes against what I told the residents I would do in this role.
I can chime in a little bit. I can say, we talked about smart development
We
and
did.
limited annexation when you have donut holes, or for commercial development. And I see this as one of the donut holes in that little tiny piece of land there, 20-some acres. 25 acres is, at some point, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be 10 years, it's getting developed. At some point, someone's gonna buy that land and do something with it. And so we deny it now, and then it gets approved in 5 years, where now we have a great partner to work with. We have, I mean, these are, significant value homes that, we're gonna significantly raise the home value, everything around it. And at the same time, Mr. Close should be able to sell his property. When we're talking 70 homes max, we're not, this isn't a Lake Shore 1,500 homes. It's 70 homes, $1 million to $2 million homes on the waterfront. And I just think it makes sense in that we fill these donut holes, we control the future of TKK and fill all these donut holes, which there's maybe one left after this. So there's going to be many more annexations in TKK's history. So that's why I support it.
If I could chime in as well. I know when I ran, we talked about smart growth. The only no growth was no more apartments, and we've lived up to that. No more apartment complexes. We did talk a lot about smart growth, and we also talked about sustainability. And during my time on council, there's been a lot of asks for things that the city wants. We need this, we need this, we want that, we want that. Well, that comes from having money in the reserves. Not that long ago, the city had about $250,000 in the bank And that was it. This budget that we just did second read on, we have 6 million or so in reserves. B, we needed some things for various parts of the city and our first responders. You know, our biggest responsibility as municipal officials is public safety. We just budgeted and funded $1 million worth of capital expenditures to buy equipment and things for the city and didn't borrow a dime. Where did that money come from? Sustainable growth. Okay, since in the last 6, 7, 8 years, we've built some smart neighborhoods, some quality neighborhoods. We've brought in a lot of impact fees and stormwater fees and tap fees and tax revenue. And all these are all the things that's where this money came from, so we can have what we want. People want us to find a way to manage the deer population. It ain't cheap, folks. It comes from somewhere. So this is the type of growth that does it. We have a developer that's building a high-end product, so to maintain the property values in our city, and that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people live here. So to me, it's smart growth. I'm not for no growth. And I'd like to say that most of the people that come to me that say no growth, they live in the newer neighborhoods in TKK that were woods 8 years ago or 10 years ago. You know, I'm the only, I live on the side of town where this is coming. I welcome it, okay? You know, now that TKK Drive is not the only way to get into the city of TKK, an awful lot of people come down Stonecrest and come down Dam Road. This will be a wonderful addition to Dam Road. Main Street is going to be a wonderful addition to Dam Road, you know, and as opposed to the eyesore that everybody who lives on that side of town drives by every day now. So I'm fully well in support of it. That's my 47 cents worth.
Well, I appreciate your 47 cents, and I too do share your I share your sentiment. Everybody has got their hand stuck out everywhere they can stick it out. We just approved a budget that was very well put together, very well thought by all of our heads of departments. They cut everything that they could cut. We still had to buy a ladder truck to maintain the safety of our firefighters and our folks. We've got to buy new police cars. We've got to buy body cams and all kinds of other stuff that helps our city be safe. Everybody gets tired of their leaves sitting around. Come December through February, we bought another leaf truck. We got to pay for that somehow too. The way we pay for it is through impact fees. The way we pay for it is through taxes, property taxes. And we prided ourselves on the last 14 years of not raising the millage rate. Well, if we let all this stuff sit around here and just collect dust, and we don't allow folks that want to sell their property to develop their property how they, you know, in a responsible way. In my mind, I'm thinking that $1 million plus houses and a very nice neighborhood, and working with the gentleman that we're working with, that's pretty smart growth if you ask me. And with everybody wanting what they want, we want some pickleball stuff too, right? It's got to come somewhere. And from it coming from somewhere, it's got to, folks, I'm not wealthy. So I can't reach back in my pocket and throw out $6 or $7 million. So I personally think that the development is a very responsible development. I appreciate the guys working as hard as they have on it, and I'm good with it. So anybody else got anything to add? All right. Well, I would like to entertain a motion.
You got a motion?
You got a
and
motion and a second. Okay, well, everybody's in favor, say aye. Aye. I have 1 nay and 3 ayes.
Mayor, for the record, if you could call for the nay vote. Mr. Shirley didn't.
Mr. Shirley was on
Did
the
not
nay
vote.
vote.
Nay.
There we go.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, which brings us to our next. It's an introduction and the first read of an ordinance to annex 1703 Dam Road and the closed property. Huh? Y'all got me confused. Okay. We just did that. I'm glad we did that.
7C business license, 7C business license.
See, I can't get there. Yes, please. Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. This is an introduction and first reading of an ordinance to adopt the latest standardized business license class schedule in accordance with the State Standardization Act. Act number 176 of 2020, known as the South Carolina Business License Tax Standardization Act, requires that by December 31st of every odd year, each municipality levying a business license tax must adopt by ordinance the latest standardized business license class schedule as recommended by the Municipal Association of South Carolina. This ordinance is to comply with those requirements. Thank you, sir. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to make a motion to approve the introduction and the first read of an ordinance to adopt the latest standardized business license class schedule in accordance with the State Standardization Act.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thanks, man. Okay. Next business is the consideration of approval of funding for RFBs to be installed at Windjammer, at TGK Drive, and at New Gray Rock and the entrance of Catawba Park. A few months ago, RFATS conducted a pedestrian study on all crosswalks on TGK Drive, Gardendale, New Gray Rock, and Dam Road. The report came back recommending pedestrian-activated rectangular rapid flashing beacons be installed at the Windjammer Drive, TGK Drive crossing, and at the crossing on New Gray Rock Road at the entrance to Catawba Park. SCDOT has agreed to approving the encroachment permit once received from the city. SCDOT also informed the city that in the coming months they are going to create a four-way stop on Gardendale Road at Orchid Way and Gladiola Way. While we had hoped to get approval for RFBs at each of the crosswalks, it's definitely a step in the right direction. So everyone knows what an RRFB is. RFBs have been installed in the state of North Carolina by the thousands for the last 2 years. What they are is a push-button device that is solar-powered. It communicates via radio signal. You punch a button on one side of the road, and there is a 1.5 by 8-inch, 10-inch light display that goes absolutely bonkers when you push the button. I've installed numerous ones of these around, and they lower the chance for a pedestrian to be struck or a near miss by 47%. So in that, it's been a fight that I've taken to SCDOT, and I've taken it as far as I could take it for the last year and a half to try to get these things into the city of TGK. I know everybody thinks that those flags are cute, but that is exactly what we had to use in Davidson, North Carolina for years until the RFBs and the Hawk signals came about. In that, Hawk signals are not warranted here in TGK, nor does the city need to spend $65,000 to $250,000 to put those in at every crosswalk. The RFB systems are sustainable, they are cost-effective, and they work. So in that, I appreciate everyone's patience here, and I appreciate all of our citizens' patience in this coming. It has been a long, hard fight, and we managed to get a little bit of what we wanted. I'm not there yet. I'm going to keep fighting, but we're not there yet. We're going to keep going. So with that.
I would say thank you very much. I know, Mr. Mayor, you fought hard for this, and you've been working on it, and you were very adamant about it. I would also like to say that installing those, especially at Windjammer and TKK Drive, is going to eliminate one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life, which is Ruthie flapping those flags like a rooster, but still, we'll get her RRFBs. And
Can you leave the flags if Ruthie still wants them?
yeah,
Absolutely.
Ruthie, we're going to retire those to your house because we do know where you live. I'd like to make a motion to approve funding for RRFBs to be installed at Windjammer and TKK Drive and also at New Gray Rock Road and the entrance of Catawba Park.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, before you move to the next item, I did hear from DOT late Friday. Apparently, we'll be getting a press release here pretty soon, but the targeted date for the installation of that four-way stop on Gardendale is around October the 12th.
Great.
So
moving right along.
once we get the official press release from DOT, we'll get that pushed out on all of our communication channels.
Great. We appreciate all the help we can get from DOT, that's for sure.
I echo Councilman Machunas' comment. Hats off to you because I know you've led the charge on this and you've done a good job with it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Just so everybody knows, once we go through the encroachment permit process, as to what type of RFPs we can put out, and Mayor, thank you for your assistance in trying to help with that. We'll be bringing this back to council with the exact amount after we put it out for bid and everything. So you'll have a dollar amount on the next go-round once we get it out for bid and know exactly what we're allowed to install.
Hats off to you too, Charlie, and your team, because I know that doesn't just happen because the mayor wants it. I know what kind of hard work goes into that from you guys. Thank you.
Nice setup.
But two, we want to know, we're frugal with our money. Chris's computer is broke, so we're sharing one. See? We're good stewards of your money.
And I really like it because Gus already has it teed up for me and everything, you know? It's like when you get home and you got dinner cooked for you and, you know, just walk in the door and you get to sit down to a nice supper. That's great. I appreciate that.
He must have
Gus.
been Mayor Pro Tem once.
I'm getting ready to hit Control, Alt, whatever, and turn the screen upside down on him.
Okay, we got a little new business, a discussion of a proposed amendment to Ordinance 77 as it relates to mobile food truck vendors. Planning Commission, at council's direction, has taken a look at our mobile food vending regulations in the zoning code to propose changes to the code. Tonight, those proposed changes are going to be presented to council for discussion and input before we potentially move to the required public hearing next month, at next month's meeting. Is there any discussion on this? Nick, if you would, please, sir.
We'll defer to the expert.
All right, sure.
That's right.
Yeah, so Planning Commission, we discussed some changes to the mobile food vendors ordinance back in June, and then in August, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to move forward with a couple revisions to the mobile food vendor ordinance. And generally, that was to make it friendlier to small business, you know, easier for staff to enforce, and just generally easier to understand. And I will briefly go over a few of these edits. So the first one is that the mobile food vendor permit will be renewed on an annual basis. Currently, there's the duration is for 15 days at one location, renewable up to two additional times for a total of 45 days per calendar year. So they're sort of, based off looking at some other jurisdictions around the state, the vast majority use the annual renewal. And so we, went forward with that and presented that to Planning Commission, which they agreed on. The other item is to reduce the separation requirement from 400 feet to 200 feet. So currently the ordinance says there shall be a minimum 400-foot separation from any other mobile food vendor and a minimum 400-foot separation from any residential use or residential zoning district. And comparing this to other jurisdictions around the state, this seemed, excessive based off the direction that we heard from council and planning commission. So we reduced that to 200 feet from any residential use as measured by an accessible route unless located at a residential amenity area. Because we've heard time and time again, there's a lot of these food vendors at, residential amenity areas. They're invited in, citizens, enjoy them, and we saw no reason to have an ordinance that, precluded that. And the other item that I wanted to mention is currently the ordinance says the hours of operation shall be between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. and no overnight parking of vendor service vehicles will be permitted. The Planning Commission in discussion did want to, that wasn't part of staff's initial, proposal, but Planning Commission did want to strike the no overnight parking of vendor service vehicles. So, some of the reasoning that they give, they didn't elaborate, too much on that, but I know there's some, certain areas in town, businesses that may have a food vendor for a, specific amount of time, and, they don't always, necessarily go to a different location if they're, have a small contract over the summer per se or something like that. So just something for council to consider. I know there's some other areas in the county where you might have a, food vendor there at a brewery that, doesn't leave. But there's, definitely just an item to consider. And also what I wanted to mention is currently we don't have very many of these food vendors coming to City Hall to get the proper inspections, pay their business license fees, and get their, pay their permit fees. So really, regardless of, how council decides to move forward, we want something that's, does not, is easy for them to understand, easy for us to understand. It's something that they're not, scared to come to City Hall because they feel like we're going to tell them that they can't do it. Something that, sort of just helps them follow the rules, and also a huge public safety, issue if they're not getting the proper inspection. So just wanted to mention that, and here if you have any questions.
You're the mayor, you go first.
Go ahead.
I'm just on the overnight parking. To me, maybe if we change that to, and I know we don't have so much commercial space in town, but I think overnight parking should be limited to commercial space. I mean, if they want to park at the police station or at Miller Realty Group overnight, I don't have a problem with that, but I don't necessarily want one in front of my house. And I think the majority of our residents probably wouldn't want one in front of their house either.
Yeah,
That's one
That's
man's
reasonable.
opinion.
That's reasonable.
Well, Well. I appreciate the input, but it's just us discussing.
It's a business meeting.
So,
I do want to mention too, there has to be, regardless of where these things are located, has to have property owner approval. So if it
That's right.
If it was
That
at a
was in
city
there, too.
location, city approval, at a private residence, in a right of way, city approval, or whoever is in charge of that right of way. So this isn't a you can just go set up wherever you please. So I just want to say that. And also there's still the exemption in the ordinance for special events, festivals, community events, stuff like that. This ordinance does not apply to those. So I just
To Councilman Machunas' point, Nick, if I give a food vendor permission to park in my driveway, but Councilman Machunas lives across the street from me, doesn't want to see that food truck, shouldn't he have a say in that? Can we put something like that in the language? Because it's going to be an eyesore for a neighborhood if one person wants it and the whole neighborhood doesn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that can certainly be considered, in the language.
Is that consistent with what you were saying, Gus?
So,
Okay.
well, we do have a permit process for that as well.
so I will
Fair
say,
enough.
in the ordinance proposal, it says there shall be a minimum 200-foot separation from any residential use. So other than, a residential amenity area or some type of special event.
A
you
community
couldn't-
event.
Right. It wouldn't be allowed
Good.
to just be set up in,
Okay.
in a driveway.
All right, I'm good with that.
Now, let's break that out just a little bit and unpack that. So you're not going to be set up for business in a residential driveway. However, if someone had a food truck that they owned, they can still obtain the permit that we obtained at City Hall,
72 hours?
the 72-hour permit,
If it is a work vehicle, whether they're doing food or otherwise, they're allowed to park it at their home. The only thing that's required for a 72-hour permit are your RVs, campers, and watercraft trailers. So somebody's got a box truck that they drive back and forth to work every day, or it's a food truck, they're allowed to park it at their house.
So the way it's written, I don't own one, but if I owned a food truck, I could park it in my driveway overnight and take it to Miller Realty if I want, as long
Yes,
as I'm not brewing coffee in my driveway and selling it to my neighbors, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I really wouldn't want to have your coffee anyway, buddy. It'd probably be too strong. Too
I
strong.
don't know.
Yeah.
So it sounds
Like
like it kind of
poo-poo.
mirrors, this changes would kind of mirror the county more so, very similar to the counties.
Yeah, so the counties is, we sort of split the middle. So the county, to be honest, really doesn't have regulations. You know, it's pretty much, you know, wherever you want to be. We use some language, you know, from similar sized areas. You know, we used from Rock Hill, Fort Mill pretty much copied them. We looked at Lexington, Clemson, Mount Pleasant, you know, just some other general, you know, not large cities, and sort of saw, you know, kind of what they've done, because obviously this is, you know, went
So
through.
it kind, would we be very similar to Fort Mill and Rock Hill then?
Yes,
Areas around us?
we would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
You could work on that, Nick.
Gentlemen, do we have any further discussion?
This doesn't require any action from us, right?
Not tonight. So what would happen now is Nick and the team will take your comments back to Planning Commission. They'll work through that at their October meeting. We'll have a public hearing scheduled for your October, council's October meeting, because it is a change to the zoning code. A public hearing is required. And you'll be able to consider first read at that meeting if you want, or you can delay your first reading to the November meeting. But the plan would be for them to work through y'all's comments at the next October meeting with a public hearing scheduled for your October 16th meeting.
I got one follow-up, I'm sorry, Charlie.
Sure.
Just, I want to make sure I'm clear. So with the way it's written now, when you said annual, they get an annual permit, they could park it at a commercial facility and leave it there for a year?
As long as they have permission.
Yeah, I mean, if they own a facility, they could park there.
As long as they meet all the requirements
okay.
of the ordinance, right?
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I understood.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And I believe one difference between that and Rock Hill, and Nick, please correct me if I'm wrong, Rock Hill requires they leave at night. And then come back the next day. Many times they won't, as long as they've got the property owner permission, but they have to leave at night. That would be one distinction there.
So they have to remove the trailer
Or the truck, yes,
from
sir.
the truck at night.
Right.
Every
Yeah.
night. But planning recommended not that requirement.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Just making sure y'all understand that
you.
distinction there. Yep.
I mean, I don't know, you know, leaving a vehicle like that, especially if it's on any kind of city property, what kind of liability are we opening ourselves up for that?
I don't think the city would be allowing that except for through a special event permit.
Right.
So there would be a start time and an end time if it's city property. Because
So-
you also have in the ordinance that vehicles can't be left unattended on city property overnight without specific permission. If someone were to rent out, let's say, Rundy Park, for a birthday party or something like that, want to have a food truck, that would be part of their special event permit process. So it'd be allowed their start time, end time.
And what planning commission, what they were discussing was the food truck, you know, at the Mr. Putty's. So that was, you know, sort of the discussion of why they included that. So it was just, you know, isn't necessarily something that, you know.
Yep, I mean, my only pushback is I don't want, okay, so Lake Shore, Lake Ridge, whichever, you know, pick one, at the pool. Folks like to have an ice cream truck come in and make up ice cream and dip cones for everybody. That's great. But I don't think that we need to be allowing people to park a vehicle like that overnight and leave it there.
They can't, city property.
So,
On city property, they wouldn't be able to.
Right.
They can only do it on private
But
property.
even at the Lake Ridge,
even at the Lake
even
Ridge
at the Lake
pool.
Ridge pool, they'd have to get permission to do so.
Right.
From
And
Lake
I don't
Ridge.
think they'd give them permission to leave it overnight.
But if Abbott's wants to park their truck behind their building in Walmart parking lot, Walmart gives them permission. Who cares how long it stays there?
Abbott's actually has leased parking,
Yeah.
like all your out parcel buildings do with Walmart.
Gotcha.
And to that point, I do want to mention, so Rock Hill's ordinance states for an extended stay, it must be accessory to a craft brewery, agritourism business, or retail establishment greater than 100,000 square feet. So that would be the conditions for an overnight stay in Rock Hill.
Wow.
As an example, you know,
100,000.
you have the, Legal Remedy has one and a couple others, and then you have the, the farms that, put on things, especially this time of year.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we're not
That's a fair question.
letting folks park overnight at the Lakeshore Pool or our pool, that kind of thing. I don't, that's just one of those things where I just am not good with. It just opens up liability. It opens up, somebody getting stuff stolen out of it, and just something I'm really not.
Yeah, this would
Not
not,
hip
would
to.
not allow for that, right?
So the way it's currently written or proposed, if it meets the conditions of the ordinance, then it would be allowed for overnight parking. And basically that was added in because of the planning commission. So, but yeah, and I do want to add to it, this, it was a real challenge looking for best practice. Depending on where you are, I didn't find any ordinances that really even matched, even across the state. So there's a lot of different directions to go, with this to tailor it to TK. So
Thanks, Nick. I appreciate it.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next item is consideration of entering into the State of South Carolina statewide mutual aid agreement for emergency and disaster response and recovery. South Carolina law requires that state, county, and municipal governments cooperate in developing and maintaining a plan for mutual aid assistance in case of emergencies. This agreement would allow the city to request or provide assistance to the affected area or areas in the event of an emergency that includes a natural or man-made and technological disasters that may have caused a severe disruption.
To make a motion? Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to make a motion to approve the introduction, first reading of an ordinance entering into the State of South Carolina statewide mutual aid agreement for emergency and disaster response recovery.
Second.
Have a motion and a second? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Chief Hasty.
Thanks, Chief, for that. Appreciate it.
I know it's a big responsibility.
Okay. That'll bring us to the city manager's report. Mr. Funderburk, if you please would, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This past Saturday, great finish to our concert season down at Catawba Park. Big thank you to all of our staff involved with once again making those the can't miss events in our community. And next up will be our second annual Catawba Fest on October 14th at Catawba Park. Loose leaf collection will begin on October 9th. The schedule is posted online and will be sent out soon via our city news feature of our website and on social media. Hard to believe we're already there. Our Camp Cadet Golf Tournament is on October the 13th. If you haven't registered yet, time is running out, and we do still have a few spots available. So all you golfers and non-golfers that want to contribute to a great cause and spend a fun 4 hours out on the course, please sign up and join us. September 11th and 12th, staff worked with Folk Land Management to update our deer counts. We conducted the same counts in the same areas last September, and the population then was estimated to be at 850 deer in the peninsula area, or 1 deer per every 1.8 acres. Our 2023 count yielded an estimated deer population of 1,028, or 1 deer per every 1.3 acres. Our deer population in 2022 was 2.4 does per buck, and it's now at 4.3 does per buck. Unless otherwise directed by council based on your prior direction, tomorrow staff will be submitting the required letter to SEDNR to request harvesting 75 to 100 deer later this calendar year or early in 2024. It's our understanding that removal of more than 75 will require approval from the SEDNR board. The recommendation from the Folk Land Management was that we needed to cull between 300 and 360 to begin the process of getting numbers under control. Our plan right now as it stands, unless otherwise directed by council, is to contract with the USDA to come in to conduct the removal process. We'll also be utilizing off-duty law enforcement in order to secure the areas, and those areas will be on the golf course in multiple locations. The USDA has visited the city and has recommended to us the optimal areas for this based on public safety. As council is aware, the newly formed, and many of them spoke tonight, TKK Wildlife Conservation Society has been gathering additional information on a birth control program that could be implemented either now or at some point in the future. And I think we're still waiting on some follow-up information from them, but I do want to take this opportunity to thank them. They have done an amazing amount of work. I know they've got some follow-up meetings scheduled with some of y'all. I know the mayor and I got to meet with them just a short time ago. Very, very impressive, the amount of legwork that they've done in researching this. So I appreciate y'all and your efforts there. But that's where we stand as of right now, council. And that concludes my report for the evening.
Thank you, sir. Okay, and with that, we are going to enter into council comments. And as always, Councilman Machunas, please take it away, sir.
So, as always, I would like to thank our first responders for taking care of our residents each and every day and putting yourself out there for us. I also would like to thank all of city staff for all the hard work, especially during special events like last Saturday's concert. Would also like to thank those who were involved in phase one of the beautification of the Stonecrest median. Good work so far. Can't wait to see after phase two where we're at. The developer didn't leave you much to work with, and the first try didn't work so good, but I'm sure this one's going to be amazing, and we can't wait to see it. Lastly, for me, I would like to make a motion that after the end of council comments, we go into executive session to discuss legal advice concerning our special community events.
Have a motion. Second. Have a motion and a second to go into executive session after this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Councilman Tunis. Councilman Shirley, if you would, sir.
Well, I too would like to thank Ms. Eichert and the team that came this evening that's presented some very useful information for us. I know you've worked hard to put some research to this, and as have we, and you've spoken to some of the same folks that we have, and you've brought some new information to us, and I appreciate the way you've worked with us. I look forward to getting together with the group of you tomorrow. Thank you to our first responders and for what you put together for this meeting, for us to approve, for mutual aid. Glenn, appreciate that. Chief, appreciate everything that you do as well. We really love living in this community. We had a meeting, some of you that showed up early for this meeting saw there was a group of Webelos that was here, and one of the things we talked about in that meeting was that we saw an announcement that I think one of our local publications posted today that TKK is the second safest city in South Carolina. We're always either the first or second safest, and that's not an easy feat. It takes a village, and we really appreciate everything that goes into that, from the community looking out for each other and our first responders looking out for our community as well. Thank you for everyone that attended this evening.
Thank you, Councilman Shirley. Mayor Pro Tem Peiser, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Start by thanking staff. Great job with the whole summer series. Charlie, you and your team did a wonderful job, and that's across the board from, the Parks and Rec, Public Works, everybody getting everything just looking wonderful. And of course, the first responders with the safety at the events and everything you do every day. city's doing great right now. 99.9% of that is you. We'll take 0.1%.
Right.
The conservation group, thank you for all your work. I look forward to meeting with you. It's been, eye-opening. I've been trying to research this PZB. Looking forward to learning more about it on Thursday. Thanks for engaging and taking the time. It's very much appreciated. I wish there was. I thank everyone for being here. I wish there was more people here because we want your feedback, and we want you involved. Catawba Fest, looking for vendors in that. So if anybody out there want to be a vendor, please sign up. I'm looking forward to it. Me and a friend are thinking about some ideas we're gonna have up there. Should be fun for the kids. We just got to figure out how to build it first, but I'm not going to spoil the surprise.
A little teaser, though.
What's that?
A little teaser, though.
Yes, a little teaser. Let's see, anything else? No, that's all I have. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Mayor Pro Tem. So that comes to me. Just like to say thank you for everybody in attendance tonight. Ladies, thank you for all your hard work, legwork, and everything. I think we kind of got a good thing going. Let's keep it going and see if we can work through some more of the problems that we have in TEK. It just is a great testament to TEK, how we can all work together and come up with solutions to common problems. Deer are a common problem everywhere. And with that, our city has a chance to be a light at the end of the tunnel for some of those cities that don't have a lot of hope. So, and kudos to you guys for bringing that to our attention. And I appreciate all your hard work. I think we all as TEKans can appreciate what they've done in the past couple of weeks and months. So I thank you very much for that. Our folks continue to do an excellent job in everything that they do, from first responders to Park and Rec to our TCUD guys, our municipal court judges, and all of those folks that are involved in all of our city faculties. It's just incredible the amount of work that they do, and folks, trust me, they do an incredible amount of work for us and our city. And I appreciate everything you do. The folks that stay at the end of the night and empty the trash cans after we have our concert series. You see some folks like that in yellow and green shirts, walk up to them and give them a hug. Tell them you think, and you really appreciate what they do. Because, those are the guys when the lights go out and everybody else is gone. They're still there picking up and cleaning up everything so that the kids can play ball the next morning, and they're out there the next morning striping the fields for them. So it is a huge job that they do for us, and they knocked it out of the park, no pun intended, again this year. And so did our event planner, I believe. She did an excellent job as well. So hats off to Caroline for that. Folks, let's just. We've had a lot of things that we've commemorated in this last month. One of them being 9/11. A terrible, terrible point in our history. Just keep a thought in your head that we're all here because of the brave men and women that went forward and protect us every day. We should not have tragic events like that happen to us, but when we do, those guys are the first ones to run into the building. So, just a very tragic time in our history. So let's all never forget what happened that day. It was terrible, and we all have to be vigilant, and we all have to be loyal to our country to where that does not happen again. So. In that, I would like to tell everyone to go forward and be safe. Keep your head on a swivel. There are a lot of mean people out there that like to do mean things to other people, and thank the good Lord we can help to keep them out of TEK as much as possible with good men in blue. And Chief Crosby, appreciate you doing what you do for us as well. So just want to tell everybody, I appreciate you being here this evening. Thank you for coming out. Yes, we're going to continue with the RFATs. I will look with them to see if I can get them to do a video for us. They were doing that for a while with the Zoom meetings, so they do have that capability. Not sure why they stopped, but I will ask David Hooper as to why. And in that, we are fighting the good fight every day to try to make our folks safer on the roads and in TGK. So we'll continue to do so. So I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you very much. I would like to entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Motion to go into executive session.
Have a motion. Have a second.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are in executive session.